A Pokemon fan and a Fire Emblem fan both start scrolling Twitter. Who kills themselves first?
There is no meme. This is just a threat.
Hey! This is pretty self-explanatory, but let me explanatory it. I love Pokemon. I've done 2 Pokemon Let's Plays already, and I'll do a 3rd one eventually. And I like making tier list videos. They're quick, they're a lot of fun to just talk about things you like, bitch about things you don't like. So, yeah, here we are. Now, there are a lot of Kanto Pokemon. 150 of them, to be exact. But right now, I'm just using, I'm not only judging Venusaur, he's representing the entire line. Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, etc. And I just want to talk about the Pokemon in Gen 1. That's it. It's like 100 degrees outside today. And I thought, if I'm going to be stuck inside and not in that damn heat, talk about Pokemon. Now, there are as many Pokemon opinions as there are human beings on the Earth. Every Pokemon is someone's favorite and least favorite Pokemon. That's the magic of Pokemon. So, if you disagree with any opinion on this list, just understand that it is a moral failing and you are a worse human being than me and you will not see the pearly gates. Alright. For starters, Venusaur. The Grass-type starter, known to be one of the most powerful Pokemon for a single-player run ever. I like it. I like it. Venusaur is as Grass-type as Grass-types have ever Grass-typed. If I remember correctly, it gets all of the powders and spores, it gets Razor Leaf, it gets Solar Beam, and it's good. For me personally, the thing that is most important, above, after design and all that, and, how cool it looks, how much fun it is just how usable it is to me. So, I don't do competitive. This is 100%, I play Pokemon like a collectathon. I start a game, I look at the Pokedex number, and I play until that Pokedex is finished. That is how I enjoy Pokemon. So, while the the high-tier thing is how much I like the Pokemon's design and gameplay, other things will factor in. But Venusaur, I think it looks cool. Let's Go showing it hop around like a frog was hilarious. I did not know that's how Venusaur moved, and because of that, I love it. Thank you, Let's Go. I'm just not really a flower person. So while Dinosaur Frog with the flower on its back is a cool design, I'm not really a flower person. You'll see as this goes through, I'm not very kind to grass types. But I like Venusaur. It's cool. I just like Charizard and Blastoise more, so I don't pick it that much. But if I go through Fire Red and Leaf Green, or Red, Blue, Yellow, I'll pick it sometimes. Now, Charizard has, people will tell you that Charizard is overrated. Game Freak loves Charizard because it's pandering to Gen 1 fans. Look, I get it, right? I get that you're probably sick of seeing Charizard. But I'm never going to be convinced a fire-breathing dragon isn't the coolest goddamn thing in the universe. Alright? It's got good stats for a single-player playthrough. Fire flying isn't the greatest typing, but, you just need it to use Flamethrower, and it does that really well. Its design is sick. It's a cool dragon with a fire tail. I like it. I like Charizard. I pick it fairly frequently. And its overexposure has hurt it a bit. I can't act like I don't get that people are sick of seeing Charizard. But I love dragons. I'm a big fantasy guy. And fantasy loves its dragons. So, if I still freak out every time Dark Souls puts a dragon in front of me, or every time Final Fantasy puts a dragon in front of me, I'm gonna freak out whenever Pokemon puts a dragon in front of me, because dragons are cool. Why did I even say all of that about Charizard? I could have just said dragons are cool, and that would have been enough. Blastoise is a turtle, or I guess a tortoise, with cannons in its shell. That's hard as hell. I'm putting that in A tier. I really like Blastoise. He's a big dude. Like, he's a bulk. He looks bulky. Like, he looks like he doesn't even need the cannons. He can just punch you. And as far as bulky waters go, he's fun to use. Evolves well, like every starter. I don't know why I even needed to say that. The only real problem with Blastoise, quote-unquote, is that he's a water type. Do you know how many fish are in Pokemon? You know, all-powerful fish, like Golduck, Starmie, Slowbro. Like, every generation has a ton of fish. So because of this, while I would love to pick Blastoise, and I enjoy using him, do I really want to use him over Slowbro? Or Gyarados? Most of the time, yes. But he just goes hard. Blastoise just goes hard, and he is really cool. Now, Butterfree. I actually really like Butterfree, again, because of how I play Pokemon. A Pokemon with early access to Stun Spore and then eventually Sleep Powder is great for me, because status conditions make Pokemon easier to catch, so I love using Butterfree because it makes everything easier to catch, and when I do find those like 2% encounter rates, I don't want to shoot myself worrying about if I can catch it or not. Butterfree also plays into a gameplay style that I like, and that is temporary team members. In both of my Pokemon Let's Plays that I've done for the channel, I have trained a Pokemon for like half the game just to ditch it, because I like to funnel things through and build my team not constricted about when they show up. I think it was in my Yellow Let's Play, it was Pikachu, and then in my Crystal Let's Play, it was Geodude. And Butterfree fills that really well. You catch it in Viridian Forest, you train it up, and then once you get to, I don't know, around like Lavender Town, you drop it for something like, I don't know, Snorlax or a Gengar or something like that. But I really like the style Butterfree allows. Early confusion is great. Its stats just make quick work of a lot of things. I like that Butterfly. Also, it's purple. And purple is cool. That, and this is where the anime does influence me somewhat. Bye Bye Butterfree was the episode that my siblings and I all had on VHS, and we watched it a lot. Man, that Bye Bye Butterfree, what an episode. But yeah, I like Butterfree. I wish Beedrill could do the same. Beedrill is the same design philosophy as Butterfree, where it's a Pokemon that levels up early, evolves early, I should say, has better stats than everything around it for a while, and falls off. The problem is it just doesn't get a move like Confusion. Oh shoot, I forgot to mention for Butterfree. Getting Compound Eyes in Gen 3 and then making like, at least I believe it was Gen 3, and then making it so that all of its status moves are like 95% accurate, that's dumb. I love it. Anyways, Beedrill's problem is like, I think its big evolution move is Fury Attack. Woo. It does get some merit for being the only bug type for like 3 generations that has a bug type move that's actually offensive. Because up until Gen 4 made X-Scissor, your offensive bug moves were the not that great Fury Cutter, the Heracross exclusive Mega Horn, and then Twinneedle and Pin Missile. And well, Twinneedle's what Beedrill does. But it's just not as useful as Confusion. You face a lot of flying and bug types, and poison types, that don't give a damn about Twinneedle. And it just, Beedrill's not the greatest to use. It is a really sick bee. Like, I will admit, I love Beedrill's design. Those big-ass horns. For arms, like, I do not know how it touches its children. Like, how it can embrace them. But that's its problem. Those are cool. I love it. It looks really cool. And its design honestly carries it to me. And concept. You know, it's just a big-ass bee. But I like that big-ass bee. I did not put it in B tier for B consciously. That's just actually where I put it. Pidgeot is the most bird to have ever birded, and I'm not... The base birds are often not the most interesting Pokemon. Like, Pidgeot, Onfazant. It wasn't until, like, Talonflame, Toucannon, and, like, Corviknight, like, back-to-back, like, they eventually made birds cool as hell. Pidgeot's just a bird. It's like Wing Attack. Mirror Move. It gets nothing that every other bird doesn't get. And I just don't find using it that fun. Especially if you go back and play Gen 1 like I do sometimes. And Gust isn't even a flying-type move. Like, seriously. Why was Gust not a flying-type move in Gen 1? Like, forget being caught off guard that kids these days don't know what Pokemon were before fairy types. Like, why? Who even remembers that Gust was a normal move, and why was Gust a normal move? That's so dumb. But Pidgeot's just a bird. Like, it has cool hair, feather, thing. I don't know, I don't really like Pidgeot that much. If I ever want to use a bird as a temporary team member, I got that guy right there. Raticate the Rat. I love Raticate. Look. One of the funniest things you can do in Pokemon is Gen 1. You catch yourself a rat. You use that rat. You give it the Water Gun TM in Mount Moon. Into the Bubble Beam TM from Misty. Into the Thunderbolt TM from Lieutenant Surge. Into the Ice Beam TM from Celadon Department Store. You give it Hyper Fang, and you have the Special Rat. And that is the funniest thing and one of my favorite things to do in a Pokemon playthrough. It's not good, but it's funny. And that's more important than being good. In general, Raticate fulfills the same idea as like Butterfree and Beedrill. It evolves early, it gets a very good move in Hyper Fang, and you just things for like 3 years. And you get to Lavender Town, and then like Fuchsia City, and then if you still want a normal type, you're probably gonna drop it for Snorlax or Tauros or Kangaskhan. But I love the personality and like it's constantly like aggressive expressions. I love using it while it can. It's just a fun Pokemon to use. You're never really gonna have Raticate make it to the end of your team unless you just really love rats, which, alright, sure. But it is still really fun to use for me, and I use it a lot. Seriously. Try getting through Lance with an Ice Beaming Raticate. It is so funny. Fearow is like Pidgeot if it had a better idea of what it wanted to do. Fearow starts with Peck as a Spearow, which is much easier to use. Then you got Drill Peck, naturally. And then it doesn't get anything other birds don't get. It's really just its earlier evolution and slightly more offensive stat spread than Pidgeot that makes me like using it more. It's very frail. I mean, this thing gets punched really hard, it dies. But, honestly, I still like using it. I've taken a few Fearows to the Elite Four, and it's cool. Again, it always looks angry. It's got that same kind of design space that Raticate has, where it just always looks pissed off. And I think that's funny. Yeah, not much else to say about it. It's a bird. You use it to slaughter bug catchers. What else do I say? It's a bird. Arbok it's alright. I like Arbok. Gen 1 it's not very good because it's an offensive poison type, and poison is much better geared towards defense. But it's alright. It's got a cool design. I like the pattern on its chest. Once it gets Intimidate in Gen 3, it's a lot better. That can make it deceptively bulky. And it gets some better moves offensively. I think this thing can learn Flamethrower. Right? That's kind of cool. But that's it, really. It's a cool-looking snake. I don't have as much to say about it. I think I've used this, like, once. Still, though, it's a cool snake. Cool snake. Raichu. I like Raichu. S tier, not S tier, but A tier. Everyone likes to bring up chubby Pikachu as, like, peak specimen. But Raichu is chubby and beautiful, too. Look at that big little guy. Raichu's always pretty fun to use because you get Pikachu right there in Viridian Forest. And in Gen 3 especially, you can give it like Thunderbolt, Iron Tail, Brick Break. And it's neat. Later gens give it more moves and all. I believe it's pretty good in Gen 4 as well. But I just like Raichu. I love the big Thunderbolt on its tail. That's really cool. The orange, black-ish, and yellow. Actually, it's more brown than black. It still looks cool. The Lieutenant Surge episode of the anime is an all-timer. It's just fun to use. It's easy to use. Almost every game gives you a Pikachu somewhere, so you're never in want of Raichu. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Sand Slash. Oh, jeez. Alright. I mean, it's a shrew, which I guess not really an animal that's like, wow, they have shrews in this game? But, I mean, it's got the cool, like, spiky things on its back. It's kind of neat. It's just not fun to use in any Pokemon game. Except Gen 1. Okay, I'll take that back. In very specifically Gen 1, when Dig is as powerful as Earthquake, and you get it after the second gym, Sandslash is pretty good. The problem is Dig got gutted, and then it's a ground type that doesn't learn any ground type moves other than fucking like Sand Tomb by level up. So you're stuck using TMs on it, and the Earthquake TM is always late, except in Platinum, but in Platinum you can't get Sandshrew. So it's just, it struggles to do what it wants to do. It's slow, it dies to any water type move. But it does look kind of cool. It's got those claws. I think I used it in my yellow Let's Play. I don't remember. I don't remember the things I say 30 minutes after I say them. But it's aight. Sandslash isn't one of my favorites, though. Nidoqueen and Nidoking, they're basically the same goddamn Pokemon, so I'm just gonna put them together and talk about them together. Poison Ground is a really solid typing defensively and even offensively. They evolve early into their Nidorina and Nidorinos, with Double Kick being a very good move. You can really evolve them with the Moonstone right away and have a Nidoking or Queen before Misty, because they don't really learn anything that's worth it. I think actually Nidorina gets Crunch, which is kind of nice, but it's not the end of the world. And then you can TM them some really neat moves. So they just look really cool as well. I don't know if they're based off of a particular animal or just are cool looking. So you might be thinking, oh wow, why did you put Nidoking above Nidoqueen if they're the same Pokemon? Do you hate women? I'm a Fire Emblem fan. That does not sound very good for me. But I will say the actual reason is twofold. One, Nidoking is more offensively focused. He has better attack stat. He gets Mega Horn by Move Tutor, not Move Tutor, Heart Scale, or Move Relearner. And I just like his design more. It's spikier, and spikes are cool. The other reason I like Nidoking more is because purple is objectively a better color than blue. So, there you go. Clefable, baby! I like Clefable. It's an unidentified fucking thing. Like, I don't know what its design is supposed to be. But I think it's cool. It's a big, dumb normal type until it eventually becomes a big, dumb fairy type. It's bulky, it's not too fast, and it's got a pretty good special attack stat. And it works really well with Normal's weird ability to learn, like, Flamethrower and Thunderbolt. Although I don't know if Clevable itself can learn those moves specifically. It's just got good move pool. And Metronome is always fun. Metronoming into, like, a Legendary's exclusive move, like Roar of Time, or something, is always funny. Yeah, it's catchable early in most games where you can catch a Clefable. It's just good. Becoming a Mono Fairy is actually really good for it when it does become one. Yeah, I like Clefable. It's a cool guy. Alright, Ninetales. Looks really cool, but what does this thing do that other fire types don't? Like, oh, it has Drought. That's a competitive thing. I'm not a competitive player, so I'm sure Ninetales is way higher for competitive players because Drought's bussin', but it's, like, fast. It's got some special attack. I do really like its design. It's very elegant looking. It just doesn't really do anything unique. Doesn't offer anything. Like, I'm literally racking my brain trying to think what the hell Ninetales does. Can it learn Shadow Ball? Maybe? I think it gets some neat egg moves, but egg moves are kind of clunky to use in a main playthrough. And it's downright impossible in Gens 1 and 3 for it. Well, actually, no, wait, you can catch it in Hoenn, so technically not in Hoenn. But, regardless. It's just... it looks cool, I guess. With how negative I'm being, why'd I put it in B? That's definitely a C-tier analysis. Wigglytuff is everything Clefable wants to be, but worse. But Jigglypuff. I do really like Jigglypuff. I'll put it in B. Wigglytuff does all the same things that Clefable does, like it's kind of slow, it's got a lot of bulk, it uses all the weird moves that normal types can learn for some reason. But it doesn't have the damage to actually do anything with it. And its bulk is actually a bit more suspect because its actual defenses are garbage. But I don't know, I still like it. It's a tubby little thing. It's friend-shaped. But I just don't like how it's just worse Clefable. But it's pink. I do like pink. Alright, Golbat is one of those that's being hurt by the fact that I'm not judging Crobat right now. If I ever make more of these, which I don't know, I still got a lot to go. So I don't know if I will. But Golbat's aight. I mean, it's a big bat. With its big mouth. It still looks cool. So it's just Poison Flying's a weird typing because you think, oh boy, it takes away Poison's ground weakness and makes it an immunity. That's cool, but Flying kind of just doubles down on all of Poison's other resistances. Fighting, Bug, I think there's a third one. But like, it just doesn't give resistances a Poison type doesn't already have, and then just makes it weak to Rock, Lightning, and Ice. Still, though, it looks cool. I like Golbat. I don't know if I'd even put Crobat much higher. Did you know this thing couldn't even learn Fly in Gen 1? Like, its only flying type attack was Wing Attack, which I think it didn't even get to, like, level 40 in Gen 1. That's hilarious. It is crazy how move pools for Pokemon just didn't exist until Gen 4. Vileplume. It's just a fucking flower. Like, if you like grass types, that's good for you. That's just a fucking flower. It gets flower moves. Like, the spores and the powders. Then gets Petal Dance. I don't care. It's just a fucking flower. Parasect. Of all Pokemon that are hard carried by its concept and design that I wish didn't suck butt to use, Parasect is up there with Magcargo. I love Parasect's concept. A mushroom parasite that, as Paras, oh, it's cute little mushrooms on its back, and then takes over the body as a Parasect. That is so cool. The pure white eyes. I love everything about Parasect, except actually using this goddamn thing. It's a physical grass type. Those can't possibly exist until Gen 4. That's a problem. It's a physical bug type. Problem. Bugs don't get moves until Gen 4. So what does this do for the 3 generations where it's most primarily going to be used? Spore. Which is good. It's a 100% accurate sleep move. But its defenses are bad. Its health is bad. It's slow. Its typing is horrendous defensively. So, like, all it can do is put things to sleep and then use, what, Slash? I love Parasect. My sheer love for its design and concept is putting it in the S tier for me. But god damn, do I wish it was better. Just a little bit. Alas. Venomoth. I really like Venomoth. Bug Poison is a pretty decent typing defensively. It has a lot of weaknesses, has a lot of resistances. Venomoth also gets a pretty neat move pool as the generations go on, eventually getting, you know, Bug Buzz, Quiver Dance. The main problem with Venomoth is that Venonat is just garbage. It evolves pretty late for the type of Pokemon that it is, and its stats... Like, you will have a Venonat in, like, the late 20s, and you are going to cry. But Venomoth is worth it. Good speed, good special attack, a fun design. You know, I like Mothra. It looks cool. I feel like Luminoth in Galar kind of is a cooler moth. Literally, because it's an ice type. Cooler moth. I'll kill myself. It does just look nice. Purple, it's a bit of a lighter purple than I like. I like a pale purple. Like Arbok, Golbat, Nidoking, that's fucking purple. Venomoth, it's like purple. But I like it. I do really like Venomoth. You can just catch one in the Safari Zone in any Gen 1 game, so just do that. It'll do great for you. It learns Psybeam and Psychic naturally, I believe, too, which is great. Cool Pokemon. Cool Pokemon. I would like to see it get some more love. Like, it's one of those Gen 1 Pokemon that they don't care about. No Mega, no alternate region form, no Gigantamax, no nothing. One day, Venomoth. One day. Dugtrio! I love my boy Dugtrio. This thing dies the second anything touches it. It's got the defenses of a wet paper bag. I can take a Mach Punch better than this thing. But it's fast as shit. Hits with a powerful Earthquake or Magnitude or Gen 1 Dig. It's got a simple but funny looking design. It's basically a Pokemon made up of 3 of those background elements from Yoshi's Island. And I love it for that. Not a whole lot to say about it. If I ever get to Alola, like if this becomes a series, which, holy shit. But also, Alola and Dugtrio's great. He's an S tier if we ever get to him. But just, it's so fun. You will die to everything. Dugtrio is here for a good time, not a long time. But I like him. Silly little mole man. At least I think it's a mole. Diglett lines are moles, right? Persian. Persian is weird because it is really fun in Gen 1 and garbage in every single generation other than that. I mean, it's a neat-looking cat, I guess. I'm not really a cat person, but it kind of looks neat, I guess. The thing that makes Persian funny is Gen 1, the way that critical hits work is tied to your speed, and because Persian is so fast, it crits like every hit. With Slash, a stab move that just always criticals, double power. It's really fun there. If you have never used a Persian in Gen 1, do so. It's really fun. The problem is everything else. Like, its stats just aren't good, and once critical hits stop mattering with speed, it just got nothing. I think it got Power Gem in Gen 4 for all the special attack it doesn't have. It's okay. It's alright. I feel like this is being carried by being Giovanni's lap cat. But it's okay. It's alright. You know what? I'm probably going to put it in C. It's just that Gen 1 carries it really hard. Golduck. Ducks are awesome animals. Just ask Donald. I love ducks. The idea that Psyduck is a Pokemon that weaponizes its headaches, and then Golduck has mastered the headache, is funny as shit. Its stats are okay. It kind of doesn't have anything it's good at or anything it's bad at. It's actually, Gen 4 makes it really fun to use as a mixed attacker. Its design is cool. Now that I think about it, it has the same little red gem thing as Persian, and I don't fully know what that's referencing, but it's cool. I like Golduck. It's got a cool design. A duck that just walks out of the water and beats your ass is funny. Its only real problem for me is, why isn't this a psychic type? I know that everyone since the dawn of time has been wondering why Golduck isn't a psychic type. But why isn't it a psychic type? Regardless though, still really fun to use. I recommend it if you haven't before. Shit's like Quack, man. Primeape! I love Primeape. Oh my god, it's just an angry fucking pig testicle. And it is great. Really fast, hits really hard. It's fighting, which is my favorite type. This is really the first fighting type we had. Fighting's my favorite type. It's just too angry to die, and then when it does die, it's too angry to depart this mortal plane. Annihilate is such a good Pokemon. It's just really fun. You can get Primeape pretty early in any game that has the Mankey line available. Hits hard, hits fast, doesn't really get anything other than fighting type moves, which is a bit of a problem. But I love its design, I love its concept, I love using it. I have used many Mankeys and Primapes in my playthroughs. They may not always stick around until I'm done my playthrough. I might usually drop them for, like, one of the Hitmons or Machamp. But Primeape's a good boy. I love that angry little thing. Arcanine. Big dog. Arcanine, like, Gen 1, it's fine. High special, high damage, can't really do anything other than, you know, Flamethrower, but that's fine. But, you know, it gets Intimidate later on. Bite, I think it gets Crunch. Extreme Speed. Arcanine gets a lot of love. Its only problem is it is kind of like Golduck and other such Pokemon, where it doesn't have anything it does particularly well, but nothing it does poorly. And those jack-of-all-trades Pokemon often aren't the most fun to use. Like, I'd rather Primeape hit ridiculously hard and fast, but acknowledge that it's going to die when it gets flicked. But still, Intimidate can make it deceptively bulky. It's got a cool design. It's solid. I do really like Arcanine. I've used it every now and again. It's cool. It's cool. It's a physical fire type too, which is a problem. It's not as much of a problem for it as some other Pokemon, but physical fire types need more than Flare Blitz. They need something else. Poliwrath. I love Poliwrath. I believe it's a Poliwag, is the type of animal the Poliwag line is based off of. Except instead of growing into an actual frog like Poliwags do, it just stays a Poliwag that grows hands and beats the shit out of you with it. I love it. I love its design. I love all three of them, really. It gets Hypnosis as a support move, which fighting types and support moves don't often go in hand. Its only problem is it wants to be a physical attacker, and it doesn't get good physical moves until Gen 4, which is true for a lot of Pokemon. But at that point, there aren't too many games that let you use Poliwrath that easily. But still, it gets Gen 1 Amnesia, which is funny. For those of you that don't know, in Gen 1, Special Attack and Special Defense were the same stat. So Amnesia nowadays doubles your Special Defense, which, I mean, that's not unhelpful, but first of all, it's a move that doesn't do damage, and most Pokemon fans don't like those. But in Gen 1, this thing gets Amnesia as a Poliwhirl. So what you can do is you can catch a level 40 Poliwhirl with a Super Rod, level it up once to 41 to get Amnesia, evolve it into Poliwrath, use Amnesia once, this thing's Surfs are hitting like Mewtwo levels of special attack. It is great. Only works in Gen 1, but unlike Persian, I like its design and concept too much. I love Poliwrath. I've used it a lot, I'll use it in the future. I love this really angry, not even frog, a really angry Poliwag. I guess it does kind of look Toad-like, a bit, but I think Seismitoad is much more the Toad Pokemon. Love you, Poliwrath. Alakazam! There really ain't much to say about Alakazam. S tier? I think I'll put an A tier. It's got a beautiful mustache. The spoons. Do Psychics still bend spoons anymore, or was that just a thing made up by the 90s? Regardless, really good fun to use. Really fast, hits really hard. I've used Alakazam a lot. Later generations give it more moves once running around with only Psychic starts to be not that good. It's the same kind of Pokemon as Primeape or Dugtrio, where it's going to hit really hard, and then it's going to die if anything ever gets a chance to counterattack. Which, I'll have one of those kind of Pokemon on my team. Sure. Still though, really good fun to use. Its design is cool. I like that it's another La Creatura. Like, it doesn't really look like anything, it's just a creature. I like it. Fun to use, neat design. Cool. Machamp's design is simple. What if we took a big fucking dude and gave him 2 more arms to beat the shit out of someone with? That's why he's S tier. Like, he's a dude with 4 arms that punches things. As Ben 10 proved to us, that's all you need. Like, oh, I'm a fire-breathing dragon. Oh, I can spew powerful poisons. I can electrocute you to death. He just hits you really hard. Just... that's the Pokemon. And that's sick as hell. Eventually, Gen 4 will give it No Guard and Dynamic Punch, which is insanely funny. Seriously, a Gen 4 Machamp with, like, Stone Edge, Fire Blast, because why the hell not, Dynamic Punch, and then a mysterious 4th move, that's a lot of fun. Strongly recommend it next time you play through Platinum. Victory Bell's just a fucking plant. It's a bell plant. Whoa. Tentacruel is really neat. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I've used Tentacruel a fair amount. Like, yes, it's a jellyfish Pokemon, and that might not be the most interesting in and of itself, but I really like its design. Like, the glowing red thing. Actually, I think about it. Golduck, Persian, Tentacruel. I really liked glowing red. Like, even Butterfree's eyes and Venonat's eyes can be, like, red circles. Why does Gen 1 like red circles so much? Even still, it's cool as hell. Its design, that long, like, nose it's got, the mysterious black darkness behind its eyes, and all them tentacles, it's a cool-looking jellyfish. Water Poison is a phenomenal typing defensively. A lot of really good resistances. Really good special as well. Special defense, I should say. It's just cool. I've used it a fair amount. It's usable in basically the first 4 generations, easily. And then after the first 4, it gets a bit more suspect. I don't remember how easy it is to get in Black, White 2, or like Kalos and so on. But it's cool. Tentacool, even. Golem! Alright. I love golems. Not the Pokemon golem, but just like the concept of a golem. Rocks given life is just cool to me. I don't know why. Maybe it was playing Metroid Prime and you fight, the rock Thaddeus or something. And that just stuck with me. But just the concept of getting a bunch of rocks to make a rock thing is really cool. It's also really funny that Golem is named Golem, and then they make a more traditional fantasy Golem Pokemon in Gen 5 with Golurk, but Golem already has the name Golem, so Golurk the Golem can't be a Golem. Geodudes are everywhere. You can get them in almost any game you want, and Golem is always useful. Like, Golem will die the second you look at it with a water or grass type move. Who cares? It's just fun to use, neat design. I like Golem. I think he's a cool guy. Yeah. Rapidash is an instance of Pokemon taking a dumb, simple idea. All Rapidash and Ponyta are what if we made a horse and its mane was on fire? That is all Rapidash and Ponyta are. But, that's really cool. Like, Rapidash's design is awesome. A flame horse is just cool. I just wish it was a bit better to use. Gen 4 is really the only time I can think of regular Rapidash actually being pretty much worth it. And specifically Platinum. Because Platinum, it gets Flame Wheel and Stomp before level 20. And then once it evolves, you can give it Mega Horn. Now, Poison Jab isn't a great move, but it's a move. And then eventually you'll get Flare Blitz. And it's actually pretty usable. But before then, it's a physical fire type, which means it doesn't really get anything. Like, its Flamethrower can do alright, but like Ninetales is going to do a better job than it. It's carried by its design, in my opinion. I think Rapidash looks really cool. And you know what? That's all it needs. I just wish it was a bit better. Slowbro, baby. I love me the Slowpoke line. It's dumb. There's not a goddamn thought in that thing's head. It's a slow and bulky Pokemon, which is my favorite kind of Pokemon to use. I love Slowbro. Its Surf and Psychic hits hard. It gets Amnesia in Gen 1, which makes it pretty much unstoppable. It's available fairly consistently. It's just a dopey friend-shaped Pokemon. I love Slowbro. I would love to just sit by a riverside, look out across the water, look at Slowbro and go, ain't this the life? And he would just go, and it would be wonderful. I love Slowbro. Look at him. Just a dude. Just a guy. Magneton is really neat. Yeah. I mean, its design isn't the most complex. It's just, a ball and some magnets. But I really like it. The red-blue color, it gives a nice little bit of color. Its stats are usually really good for the playthrough. All it can do is spam Thunderbolt. But that's not the worst thing in the world. Like, combine that with really good special attack, really good bulk once it becomes a steel type in Gen 2. I love Magneton. I don't even know if I'd necessarily put Magnezone higher than it. They'd be like the same tier. It's a neat little design, pretty fun to use. I like Magneton. Just a solid zappy stick. Far-fetched. It's a bird, and we've already gone over, I'm not the biggest fan of birds. But, it's a duck that gets hunted, and I guess the joke is that it literally has the leek you serve duck with. Which is kind of cool, I guess. I don't know, it's just a crappy bird that's worse than Pidgeot to use. I don't find its design that interesting either. I just don't like it very much. It does have some appeal as being one of the worst Pokemon to ever use in any game. Like a Delibird has, just like the charm and how garbage it is. I don't think that's enough for me. Dodrio is a bird that actually is kind of neat in its design. First of all, it's an ostrich, and ostriches are, you know, more neat birds than these other birds. And two, it's an ostrich with 3 heads, and all 3 heads have different emotions. Like, any creature that has, like, 3 heads and 3 brains, or, like, not necessarily 3, but, like, multiple, that's always a fun idea. Also, this thing is literally designed to be a flightless bird, and it can learn fly, which is just funny in concept and execution. It's just silly. I like it. It's also the strongest stat-wise of the Gen 1 normal birds, but it's also always available the latest, which I think is kind of the design philosophy there. It's cool. It's cool. I like it. Dugong. I'll fully admit, when I was a kid, I didn't know dugongs were an animal. I thought this was just a seal, and that seal was the incredibly lazy name. No, seal and dugong aren't supposed to be seals, they're supposed to be dugongs. Which might also be a type of seal, I don't know, I'm not from the ocean. So I guess the joke is supposed to be dew as in, like, mist? Is, like, mist this thing's signature move or something? I don't know. But it's always available pretty late. Its stats aren't anything to write home about. Spheal and Wall Rain just make this thing irrelevant, because it's just such a cooler, ice water type. Though I will wonder how Spheal becomes a walrus, but that's Gen 3's problem. I think I used this in XD Gale of Darkness. I think that's the only time I've ever used a dugong. And I vaguely remember it actually being pretty good in XD. So... Muck is just a pile of sludge. And that's nice. It's just an ooze monster. A slime. Slimes are, again, I'm a fantasy nerd. Slimes are always a fun monster. And Muck, it's just super bulky. Get some powerful physical moves. Just go. It's a simple concept, simple execution. Everything about it works. It's a solid poison type, and poison's a really cool type. I like him. I also remember using him in XD Gale of Darkness, and he's really good. Huh. Who would have thought? Cloyster. Alright, let's just address the elephant in the room. Cloyster is just a vagina. Alright, like, haha, you make the joke, like, look at it. Alright? Look at it. The deadliest clit in the West, but by God. Now that the obvious joke is out of the way, Cloyster's really cool. Its absurd defense is really funny. Once it gets Shell Smash in Gen 5, it is phenomenally fun to use. And even before then, with its insane defense, it's nice. I like its design, how it always has that, like, face going on. It's cool. It's purple. Again, the purple bros are pretty up there. I like it. Solid water type. Not much else to say. Gengar. Oh, that's that boy's an S. I feel like Gengar is just like one of everyone's favorite Gen 1 Pokemon, because he's just a little ghost guy. You can read his like Pokedex descriptions and see him as really scary, You can, like, see him as a silly little guy. Both of these interpretations work. Gengar's just a lot of fun. Early games, give him the Psychic TM, give him Thunderbolt, and just let him wreak havoc with his absurd special attack. When he gets Levitate in Gen 3, that's even more ridiculous. When he gets special Ghost and Poison moves in Gen 4, again, Gengar stocks just keep going up and up and up until they took away his Levitate in Gen 7, and that makes me want to kill them. Like, in terms of content in the game, the best Pokemon game is probably Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but they took away Gengar's Levitate, and I hate them for it. Why is he now grounded? Why have you put God's feet to the ground? He exists in the heavens above. Gengar. Onix! Onix looks cool. He's another rock guy. He's another rock guy. Like, a bunch of boulders coming together to make a snake is actually a really cool idea. I like Onix's design, and his stat spread is interesting. Onix wants to be a fast, defensive Pokemon, but that's not useful. I'd rather it have more attack so that it does something. But its design is too nice for me to really hate it. It does get helped by Steelix. If I get to Johto, Steelix is going to be up there. But Onix is still nice. It's one of Brock's Pokemon, so, like, it's iconic for that. I like it. Cool design, I just wish its stat spread wasn't so weird. Hypno! I like Hypno. It's a bulky Psychic type, and I do like my bulky Pokemon. Hypnosis is a great move for me. I always want to have a Pokemon that can put something to sleep. Excuse me, it's got Gen 1 Amnesia. I think. Maybe. It's cool. I didn't know that Tapers were an animal, much like Dugong, so I didn't know what the heck Hypno was based off of, but it's cool. It's a Dream Eater. It'll eat your dreams. Woo. It's cool. I like it. Kingler. Alright, look. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And for those of you not in the States, the whole thing with Maryland is we love our crabs. I once almost accidentally started a race war in Louisiana by insinuating that crabs were better food than crawfish. We'll never say that to a Louisiana woman again. But I love Kingler. It's a cool-looking crab. The, like, underjaw is really cool. The giant claw is awesome. And did you know that of all the Pokemon on this list, period, in terms of raw physical power, Kingler's the second strongest? The only Pokemon in all of Gen 1 stronger than Kingler is Dragonite. Machamp and Kingler have the same attack stat. You wouldn't know this because it's a physical water type and those don't exist until Gen 4. It doesn't get good moves until Gen 4. Because until then, it's using Crab Hammer, which is a special move and it can't do that very well, and Vice Grip. Mud Shot, I think it gets in Gen 3. I have, however, used Kingler in one game where it was really good for me, Let's Go. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, I used a Kingler, I gave it X-Scissor, Rock Slide, Crab Hammer, and it fucked. So if you're ever playing Let's Go, use Kingler. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, you can also use Kingler. And then I do not remember how easily Kingler is available from then on. I think it's usable in Galar, because it got a Gigantamax form that no one gives a shit about, because no one cares about the Gigantamax forms. I think. I like Kingler. Kingler's cool. Big crab, big damage. Electrode. Do people still think Electrode is lazy? I remember, like, people thought the design of Electrode was garbage because it's just a Pokeball. Have you never heard of a Mimic? Like, Mimics are supposed to look like treasure chests. That's what they do. And treasure chests in Pokemon are Pokeballs. So the Mimic is a Pokeball. Mimics are a cool monster. It's like hating the Canabox from Dragon Quest. Like, why would you do that? Electrode also has a lot of personality, that smug, shit-eating grin. You know every time you look at a Pokeball and it turns out to be Electrode and not an item, he's laughing at you. The problem with Electrode is I've talked about a lot of Pokemon like Alakazam, Gengar, Kingler, Pokemon that get more moves as the generations go on, so that eventually in the modern day, if you want to use them on your playthrough, they're really able to be used. Electrode is God's forgotten child. Since Gen 1, the only thing Electrode has ever been able to do is use Thunderbolt, and then when it can no longer use Thunderbolt, explode. That is all Electrode has ever done. I think it got like Gyro Ball, a move that makes it like that has power scaling to how slow you are, when Electrode is one of the fastest Pokemon in the series to this day. I don't get it. I think it can set up dual screens with Reflect and Light Screen, but if I want a dual screen Pokemon, I typically want a bulky Pokemon. Like when I think dual screens, I think Claydol or Bronzong. I don't think Electrode. But its design and concept put it in S to me. I love him. Exeggutor! It is just a tree, but it's a completely different plant than these two down here, and that it's got that whole multiple head thing going on, which is really funny to me. Same thing with Dodrio. Its stats are way more interesting. It has some of the highest special attack in the franchise, and I just think it's more neat. I don't know, just those three heads. One happy, one dopey, the other I think is angry. I like it. I like the three-head thing. Grass Psychic as a type is decent until bug moves start to be something it actually has to fear. But thankfully, in the first 3 generations where you'd be using this, you don't gotta worry about that. So, it's pretty good. It's definitely a Pokemon that gets worse and worse as the generations go on, as its poor speed makes it a little harder to use, and again, once you have to fear bug types. But still, for a single-player campaign, ain't nothing wrong with an Exeggutor. It's a silly little guy, and I love him. Marowak is also cool. I like Marowak. It's just like an unidentified thing that beats you to death with a bone. I can't really explain why I like it. I guess like the bone head is a sick design. And just the concept of beating you to death with a bone is really funny. It's the closest I'm going to get to a skeleton Pokemon. And for those of you that aren't aware, skeletons are my favorite monster. Period. I love skeletons. But, yeah. It's cool. Motherfucking Hitmonlee. I love this thing. First of all, it's named after Bruce Lee, one of the coolest dudes to ever exist. Second of all, it's got a cool design. Being focused on kicking and having those, like, spring legs that can just go... That's a really neat design. The kicking moves are way better than the not kicking moves for a while. Like, until Gen 4, Hitmonlee was just better than all the other Hitmons, because Jump Kick and High Jump Kick were actual moves, instead of Hitmonchan, who has his problems. But still, I've used Hitmonlee a lot. I love its design, I love its namesake. Hitmonlee is cool. It's just... Hitmonchan has problems. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room here. Hitmonchan's elemental punches that it's known for, it can't actually use until Gen 4. Because they're all special moves, and Hitmonchan's special attack is garbage. It won't even two-shot things that it's weak to. Like, if you try to use Thunder Punch on a Tentacruel, Hitmonchan's gonna need like 3 of them. But, it's a boxer. Boxers are cool, and it's gonna beat the shit out of you. which is cool. It eventually does get to use its elemental punches and be pretty good, which is cool. It's named after Jackie Chan, who's a cool guy if you just forget about all the Chinese nationalism shit and ignore how he treats his children. But he was in the funniest movie ever with Chris Tucker, so like, if Jackie Chan makes Rush Hour 4 and it's as good as the first 3, I'll forgive everything. But Hitmonchan's a lot of fun, once he's actually able to use what he wants to use. And I like his design. He's definitely worse than Hitmonlee, and even to this day, I think he might still be worse than Hitmonlee. But he's cool. I like him. How does he send emails with boxing gloves on? The world may never know. Lickitung! Yet again, it's a big purple friend. Probably more in line with B tier. The problem with Lickitung isn't even really the problem. He's horrible to use. Like, his tier list placement is carried by a fun design and just a likable, goofy goober kind of aesthetic. His stats are terrible. His move pool's terrible. He really needs Licky Licky. Like, honest to God, more than Scyther needed Caesar, more than Rhydon needed Rhyperior, more than Golbat needed Crobat, Lickitung really needed Licky Licky. And if we ever get to Sinnoh, Licky Licky is going to be A or S tier because I love that rotund specimen. And I love this rotund specimen. It's just... God, he sucks to use. He's actively painful. He might be worse than Farfetch'd. At least Farfetch'd can theoretically hit something super effective with flying moves. What the fuck is Lickitung gonna do? Weezing, baby! I think Weezing's S tier. Balls of toxic gas that are really fun to use. I wish it got Pain Split not through Egg Move, because Pain Split is my favorite move in the entire game. But even still, you can give this thing Sludge Bomb and Flamethrower, Will-O-Wisp, make it this annoying, impossible to KO Pokemon. Its design is neat, it's got the 2 heads, as we've established. I like the multiple head thing. It's purple. It's a defensive poison type, which is great fun to use. Levitate just says, fuck you to ground types, the only thing that's killing me are Psychics. Which, to be fair, Psychics do kill it. It's just a lot of fun. I love Weezing. Why did I do that joke? My throat hurts now. Ugh. Oh god, now I'm actually crying. Why the fuck did I do that? That wasn't even that funny of a bit. But still, cool Pokemon. Really cool Pokemon. Rhydon! God, he looks cool. He is cool. He doesn't even need Rhyperior. Like, honest to God, any game you could use a Rhydon, Rhydon's a good option. The drill on his head is really cool. His gargantuan, just like, kaiju-esque monster design is awesome. His stats are amazing. Yeah, you gotta put up with Rhyhorn for a bit, but your reward is always worth it. Rhydon looks cool. He's a giant monster. Like Nidoking, Nidoqueen, just eventually we'll get to Kangaskhan. Absolutely awesome. I love his design. I love his stats. I love using him. He's just cool. I love Pokemon that are like, I can go into an entire spiel about like multiple other Pokemon. But Rhydon, he's an S tier because he's cool. We're moving on. Chansey is another pink rotund specimen. I like pink rotund specimens. What do I say about Chansey? Its absurd special defense is kind of neat. In Gen 1, when its special defense is just its special, it's also kind of fun to play around with. It's, I love killing these things for experience. Chansey is nice. It's sweet, it's cute. I like it. It protects its little egg. It's adorable. How were Pokemon eggs existing a groundbreaking revelation in Gen 2, when in Gen 1, this thing exists? Tangela is not just a plant, it's a mass of vines, and I think that's really cool. It's more so a B tier. Tangela has those obscured eyes that are just like... its true form is shrouded in darkness, like Tentacruel, and I think that's really cool. A Pokemon that's just a mess of vines, the neat idea. I think it's a cool little guy. It does definitely need Tangrowth to... excuse me. To really be usable. But until then, it's just kind of cool. It's all wiggly woo over there. I've got nothing to add, it's just kind of cool. Kangaskhan. Big, fat, normal type. I love big, fat, normal types. Like, I love the idea, like, people just know that kangaroos beat your ass. Streets of Rage 3 had a fighting kangaroo. I think Tekken has a fighting kangaroo. Kangaroo Jack could probably beat my ass. But Kangaskhan is big. It's a big fucking kangaroo. And it's got big boy damage. It's got a good ability. I believe it gets Intimidate, right? Does it? No, that's Tauros that gets Intimidate. The fuck does this thing get? It gets Cool. That's what it is. And at the end of the day, this big monster just wants to protect its little baby. And that's adorable. It's just a reminder that moms are really powerful and can beat you to death with blunt force if ever angered. Keep that lesson in mind. Seadra! Alright, I take it back. Remember how I was saying that, like, Lickitung needs its other evolution more than any other Pokemon? Seadra's like that, too. The thing is, Seadra's really only usable as the final Pokemon in Gen 1. Which... alright. But... I do really like Seadra's design. Like, it's a seahorse. Seahorses are neat. It's spiky. Spikes are neat. It's just water's already the most common type. What are you doing here? You've got so much stiff competition. Kingdra's a little better. Though Kingdra has its own problem of being a dragon type that doesn't have hands, which is a big problem in Gen 2 and 3. But that's a story for another day. Seadra's aight. It's okay. Seaking is one of those Pokemon that desperately needs the physical special split to exist. Hang on. Oh, where did this... getting a little tall. Yeah, Seadra. Don't Seaking. Seaking, it's a giant goldfish, which isn't the neatest design, to be honest. But, it does have a horn. And with a horn comes Mega Horn and Poison Jab and a high attack stat with Swift Swim that actually makes it kind of neat to use in Gen 4. I believe you can get Golding and Seaking in Gen 4, I'm pretty sure. That's where they're fun to use. You give this Rain Dance, Waterfall, Mega Horn, is Drill Peck, I guess? I think you can get Drill Peck. That's a neat Pokemon. Like, honest to God, it's kind of fun to use. But until then, it wants to be a physical water type, and those just aren't happening. You're just not doing it. I'm sorry. But I think it'll eventually be kind of neat. And the orange and black is kind of nice. It's a very nice, colorful Pokemon. No, it's not a goldfish, it's a koi, isn't it? Like that Japanese fish, the koi? I don't know, I'm not from Japan. Stormy's cool! S or A, S or A. I might put it in S. That's a bit more suspect for me, though. Starmie's really neat. Just like it's almost man-made-esque design. Like, it doesn't look like a starfish. It looks like a star that swims with the fish. And, like, just having, like, the star on its back that rotates around while the star in front stands there is kind of a really neat design to look at in motion. The gemstone idea, again, with the red gem. What the hell was up with Gen 1 in that? Regardless, it's also one of the most solid Pokemon in any game. You want to use it. Fast, good move pool, good stats. A really absurd move pool by, like, pre-Gen 4 standards. I've used Starmie a lot. Most recently, I did a playthrough of Emerald on my own where I used it. And with Thunderbolt, that thing just made Wallace his bitch. Really fun. Really good Pokemon, really cool looking, really good to use. Mr. Mime kind of is the pink rotund specimen that I have been talking about. But I don't quite like him as much as the other pink rotund specimens. Like, that's just a dude, and not like a dude that can punch you and is really cool like Machamp. That's just a man. That's just whole ass a man. But it's got good special attack, good speed. You can get one really early, in Gen 1 at least. It's okay. Kind of a boring Pokemon to talk about, but it's kind of fun to use. It's okay. Detective Pikachu absolutely carries this Pokemon. It is so funny in that movie. Scyther. Praying Mantises are cool as shit. Like, Praying Mantises are always a top-tier bug. And it's got Sword for Hands. I do not know how it consoles its children, but Swords for Hands are just cool. They are just absolutely cool. I love them. Actually using it's really rough for a while. Once Platinum comes around, when it can get, like, X-Scissor, Swords Dance, and, like, Technician with, Wing Attack, that's really neat. But even still, Scyther is carried by its awesome design. It just looks too goddamn cool to not be S tier. I love him. Jinx! Look, my skin color is closer to that of a jar of Hellmann's than of actual human beings. So I'm not gonna talk, like, I don't know if I can have an opinion on, like, Jinx's racial past of being like a dark black character. I think it's based off of, like, Japanese Jinka fashion, Gaginka, I don't fucking know. But I still think it looks kind of cool. The flowing dress, the long thing. It reminds me a lot of Lips enemies from, Dragon Quest, which has nothing to do with the dress and hair comments I was just making. I just remembered that thought independently. But I want to put it in A, because Jinx is a pretty powerful Pokemon to use. Really fast. Ice Psychic is a pretty good type combination. It can get Sweet Kiss, or Lovely Kiss, the move that puts things to sleep. And as a guy that catches Pokemon, I love sleep moves. It does have that uncomfortable baggage, but I don't know, it's purple now, and purple's cool, so I think Jinx is cool. I do really like Jinx. Yeah. I don't know why I did that pause there. Electabuzz, baby. That's an S tier. Look at him. He's angry. He's got that jagged stripes that are really cool. Good stats, good move pool. At his best in probably XD Gale of Darkness. I remember using the 3 Elemental Punch Cross Chop Electabuzz. That thing does wonders for you. Cool design, cool stat spread. It's just cool. I really like Electabuzz. Magmar's head is a pair of butt cheeks, and that's funny. Pinsir's a stag beetle, and it's a rough stag beetle. It's like... I don't know if this is just how stag beetles actually look, but it looks cool. Like the mouth with all the, like... all the teeth. I actually don't think those are teeth, but regardless... The big horns, big beefy legs, absolute noodle arms, though. Like, dude, you gotta hit the gym. Not that my fat ass has anything to talk. But still, absurdly high physical attack. Even though it doesn't get a good bug move until Gen 4 with X-Scissor, it's still just a pretty good Pokemon due to its absurd strength and ability to learn, like, Brick Break. It's a really cool Pokemon. It's not the absolute greatest in the world, but I still like Pinsir. I think it's got a tough design, good stats, pretty fun to use. I like it. Grab the bull by the horns. And also... I had to zoom out because we were getting to Too big of a list. What was I talking about? Tauros. Tauros is really cool. It's just a bull, but bulls are kind of cool. And it has an absurd amount of strength and speed, intimidates a great ability. In Gen 1, giving this thing the double-edged TM, and just letting it go, like, yeah, it's gonna kill itself, but it's gonna do a lot of damage before it kills itself, I'll tell you that much. I like Tauros. It's usable in Gen 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, you can catch it pretty easily in those gens. It'll do a lot of damage for you. It can learn, like, Flamethrower for some reason, though I think its special attack is Dookie Poop, so I don't think it's worth using for that. But pretty good. I like using it. I've used it before. I'll use it again. Can't recommend it enough. Gyarados. I love this thing. It's a giant fish monster. It has a really good ability. It struggles until it can be a physical Pokemon to its fullest in Gen 4, but even before then, in Gen 1 it has good special attack. In Gen 3 it can learn some neat moves. It's cool. Gyarados is always fun to use. It's never a bad option in any game where you can use a Gyarados. So, strongly recommend it. Solid Pokemon. Not a whole lot to say. It's Gyarados. The concept of the weakest Pokemon in all of existence evolving into this monster, solid idea. I actually have a poster of Gyarados up on my wall. It's cool. It is really cool. I like Gyarados. Not a whole lot to say about it that hasn't been said a million times over. Lapras! It's the Loch Ness Monster. I like that there's a Pokemon based on the Loch Ness Monster. That's really cool. The Loch Ness Monster is cool. It's got good stats, a pretty neat move pool. It wants to be a bulky Pokemon while being an Ice type, which is really sad, but, you know, not all can be winners. It does suffer from availability problems. Its availability in Johto is weird. You gotta go to a specific spot on a Tuesday. In Gen 1, you get it really late. So, but Gen 6 does just give you one. So that's kind of cool for Gen 6. Actually, right before the Grass and Electric gens, which is really funny. But, solid Pokemon, solid design, solid stats, solid move pool. Pretty good option whenever you want to use a Lapras. Ditto is weird to place. He's a silly little goober. I'll put him in B. Just a silly little guy. You can never really use him. Like, his transformation gimmick, the fact that he has to wait a turn to use Transform, he can't copy HP, and that's his worst stat. He's not very good. He's not. But he's just such a silly little guy, and he's been through the ringer at everyone's daycares. So, for nothing else, a salute to service. But still, silly little guy. I like him. Eevee has been available since the start. Vaporeon has been an option since the start. And in every single game where you can catch an Eevee, Vaporeon is always one of the best decisions. This thing hits like a nuke, has like 120 base special attack, which I never really remember is as strong as it is. Special defense is really good. It's a bulky water type. You always want a bulky water type. Move pool can be a little suspect, but by Gen 4, it's got Signal Beam, Shadow Ball, Surf, Acid Armor. It's good. Solid Pokemon. Really cool design. The sleekness with the tail fin and the, like, I don't know what to describe the thing around its face. It's not really a mane. It's kind of fish. It's cool. I really like Vaporeon. I've used it plenty of times, and I'll use it plenty of times in the future. Jolteon, baby, that's S tier. That's my favorite evolution. It's spiky. Does a lot of damage. Its move pool by level up is garbage. It gets like Pin Missile and Double Kick, which it doesn't want. But TMs can help it. It's fast as hell. Cool design. I like Jolteon. Just solid from start to finish. I really like this guy. Flareon is God's other abandoned child. B or C, B or C, B or C. Probably C. Who am I kidding here? Its stat spread is garbage for what it wants to be. It's really fluffy. Like, I want to hug that tail. But that's it. Has a monstrous physical attack that it can't do anything with. Like, when Shadow Ball was a physical move in Gen 3, that was kind of cool for it. I think I did that in XD Gale of Darkness. Which, so many XD Gale of Darkness things here. Yeah. It eventually gets Flare Blitz, I think, which is a little better for it, but not really. Nah. I wish it was better, but it's just not. Flareon is pretty much always the worst thing you could turn Eevee into. Except maybe, like, I think Leafeon really struggled in Gen 4. Because it just didn't get Leaf Blade until, like, level 70. But, like, yeah, or Glaceon's. You know what? Flareon's just not that great. I should stop comparing it to other evolutions. Alright. Porygon is a really nifty little guy. The fact that you can only get it by gambling is funny. But the fact that it's a man-made Pokemon is really neat. And how, like, it's a jagged Pokemon to represent early 3D models into something more smooth to represent later 3D models. And then the data gets corrupted for Porygon Z. Every iteration of Porygon is cooler than the last. But its original iteration is still really neat. It's a special attacker with decent special-ish. Really cool concept, really cool design. Gave Japanese children seizures. Actually, no, it didn't. Porygon has been banned from the anime, but it was Pikachu that gave children seizures in that infamous episode. Free my man Porygons. But I like him. Porygon is nifty. It's neat. I like him. Omastar! Hey, man. It's pretty good. It looks menacing. The prehistoric vibe is really neat. I think it's a mollusk, right? Crap, I can't put a mollusk in B tier. That's one of my favorite Ween albums. Really high special attack. Really neat design. Fun to use, except in, like, Fire Red Leaf Green, where they made the fossils revive at level 5 for some damn reason. But it's cool. Omastar looks really cool. Though, all fossil Pokemon look cool, in my opinion. Armaldo, Cradily, Dracovish, Dracozolt, Rampardos, Tyrantrum. Like, fossils rarely miss. I think the only fossil in the entire franchise I don't like is Aurora Borealis, but that's for another time. Still, though, it's spiky. It's got a cool mouth thing that, like, flaps open. It's cool. I like it. Kabutops has swords for hands. That is cool as shit. Aerodactyl is a... oh, pterodactyl. And it's really cool. Design is really good. Stat spread is really nice. Using Rock Slide with flying moves, or the Elemental Fangs, or Crunch and all that. Really fun. I've used Aerodactyl before. I'll do it again. Solid stat spread. Just a lot of fun to use. Always a good time to use Aerodactyl. I like him. Snorlax is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. I literally have a giant Snorlax plush, which... come on. Fit in the chair, you fat bastard. Here he is. My lovely guy. Got his Oriole cap and Oriole Hawaiian shirt. He's ready to watch him play ball. Love you, buddy. You're a big guy. Fortunately, you're also in my chair, so I don't need you to... you go back over here. Ooh. Alright. Big guy easily available in so many generations. You can get him in Gen 1. He's the only Kanto Pokemon in Gen 2 worth using, because he's the only one that doesn't show up at level 10 when you're fighting level 50s. Fire Red Leaf Green is usable. Sinnoh, he's there. Fucking Munchlax Honey Trees, I'll kill whoever designed that. Gen 6, he's given to you. Galar, he's close by. I love Snorlax. Big boy damage, big boy tank, slow as molasses on a summer Sunday, but God, if he's not fun to use. I love Snorlax's design. I love that he's a lazy fat fuck. I love him. I love Snorlax. One of my favorites, always. Alright. Articuno is a bird that I have personal attachment to, because when I was a wee young child and I didn't know what numbers and words were, when I played Leaf Green, I beat the Elite Four on the back of like a level 81 Articuno and a level 60 Venusaur. Don't ask me how I did that, but because of that, Articuno always has a soft spot in my heart, even if it's kind of not the greatest. Its rock weakness is bad, it's trying to be a defensive ice type. Seriously, why did it take until Weavile for them to realize stop making defensive ice types? I know Sneasel, but Sneasel had physical attack as 2 special types. And but it looks pretty cool. Like, it's a very colorful bird. Like, putting it alongside Zapdos and Moltres do give a very cool, like, color trio and very neat designs. It's cool. It's nostalgia carrying it for me, because I don't think I've ever used it in any game since. I ain't afraid to say that I've used Zapdos before, though. Zapdos is really fun. The yellow and black is a good color combination. It's spiky. Spikes are cool. Electric Flying is a very good typing. It's just really cool. I like it a lot. Solid Pokemon to use whenever you can get it, which is really just only Gen 1. I mean, you can get them as roaming legendaries in Platinum, and I'm pretty sure Zapdos is really good for the Battle Frontier, but I don't give a shit about the Battle Frontier, so Zapdos is kind of just cool. It's a neat Pokemon, definitely one of Gen 1's best. I love him. Moltres. It's always available the latest of the 3 legendary birds, so even if you don't mind using legendaries on your team, which, like, the birds are kind of are and aren't legendaries in the first place anyway. Moltres is really hard to put on there. Charizard kind of just is cooler looking, is easier to use. I don't think it has better stats, though. I'm pretty sure Moltres' stats are better. I mean, the Firebird's still kind of cool. I just don't think, it's, like, the concept of a bird, but its feathers are fire is not as cool as the horse one, in my opinion. I don't know, it's aight. But it's not one of my favorite birds. Dragonite. The only time you can really use Dragonite in a playthrough is Gen 2, because Kanto gives you, like, time to use a Pokemon that evolves at 55. But even then, I've always liked Dragonite. He's a friendly dragon. He's a goober. And I feel like goober dragons are really important. Because if you want the badass dragons, you've got your Salamances, you've got your Haxoruses, you've got your Garchomps. But I think the silly goober dragons are also important. Your Dragonites, your Goodras, your Drampas. Dragonite is a friend, and you know what? I'm gonna put him in S. Like Parasect, well actually he's way easier to use than Parasect, it just takes a long-ass time to get there. But, because of how I personally play Pokemon, the Pokemon that evolve really late are more so just annoying to me than cool. Because Dragonite's like always the last thing I get on my Pokedex, which is just annoying and tough to get. But still, Dragonite's fun when you can use him. He's a friendly dragon, his stats are great, he's a fucking dragon type. There are no bad dragon types of that nature that evolve late. Like Salamence, Dragonite, Haxorus, Garchomp. What the hell is Gen 6's? Goodra. Like, they're all fun if you're, like, waiting that long to use them. They're good. Dragonite is a friend. Mewtwo, it's motherfucking Mewtwo. Like, I don't give a shit if you think he's around too much or whatnot. We all watched the first Pokemon movie. We all play Smash Brothers. Mewtwo is actually one of the characters I used a lot in Smash 4. Which is really funny because my main in Smash 4, 5, and all of Smash is Donkey Kong. I love playing the heavies, and Mewtwo is like the lightest character in the game, but I like him. Really cool design, really cool origin story, really good stats. You're never going to use him in a playthrough because he's banned from everything. No Battle Frontier, no Battle Tower, no nothing. But he's just carried by how cool he is. And Mew is carried by how much of a silly goober it is. Whereas Mewtwo is the badass, dark purple, dark magic powers, or dark psychic powers. Mew is a silly little guy. They complement each other really nice. Not much else to say. Yeah. There we go. That is my Pokemon Gen 1 tier list. You'll notice how I like most Pokemon. Correct. I love Pokemon. This is really less a tier list and more me gushing about how much I love Pokemon. Which, spoiler alert, if I do more generations, they're all gonna be like this. Just me loving Pokemon. Except the plants. If you thought I was harsh to Vileplume and Victory Bell, I'm not gonna be much nicer to Blossom. Or to Lilligant. Or to any of those. Maractus. Fucking cactus. Cacturin's kind of cool, though. Regardless, that's for tomorrow. Not tomorrow. For another day. For now, I love Pokemon. Snorlax is cool as shit. If I had to, like, order them within tier, Snorlax is definitely my favorite Gen 1 Pokemon. I love him so much. He's just a fat fuck. But yeah. If you actually sat through all, what, hour of this? How long is this video? Hour and a half. If you sat through all the hour and a half of this, seriously, thank you. Really, that means a lot to me. I don't know how many views this video is going to get. If anyone cares, I care. And the fact that you cared enough to make it here, I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Now I'm going to go and play more of the Elden Ring DLC. It's really good. It's why I haven't been making many other videos and just sat in front of a screen for an hour and a half to talk about Pokemon. God, I love Pokemon. So much fun.